Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 78. Today is Sunday, February 22nd, 2015, and I'm glad you could join me today. I was just pondering whatever this afternoon trying to figure out what I wanted to call my episode, but I guess I will have to wait until I'm done recording. It is super duper gloomy today, and it's possible that we're going to have an ice storm tonight. So, we shall see. This is like the first winter weather we've gotten, so as a result of the ice storm, we are holding off on planting our peach trees, and they're hanging out in our dining room blooming right now. Yep, awesome. So, we shall see. Maybe I should have put it in the garage instead of the dining room, but I figured a little bit of light wasn't going to hurt them. It was premature to buy them last weekend. I think that's the short answer. And I was wondering whether or not it'd be too gloomy in this room, but it looks to be okay. For whatever stupid reason, the switch in this room, it's a fancy switch, it's not just and it is being obnoxious, and the company is not paying attention to our request for help. But I have been knitting. So I ended up legitimately losing my yarn scale, so I ended up getting a new scale. You could probably get something on Amazon for about $9, but this was available locally, and that was much more appealing to me. So it fits in my little bag, which I think is an important thing. And you have all of the functions you need in a scale. And what's cool to me is that the cover comes off and you can use it as a little tray. So if I have a larger thing I want to put on it, and I believe I can usually put my usual tear thing there anyways, so I think this will work out great. As a result, I really didn't do much carding of row logs and other things, but I've been keeping track of how much yarn I'm using every row, because it turns out the Viajante pattern says to knit X number of rows after you start the border, and that wasn't going to work for me. So, scale is back. It's not as cute as the Queen CD was, but it's not going to be the end of the world. I am getting really close to the end of Viajante, so you can see my little ball. What was it? I just weighed it. I'm at 13 grams left, which means I probably have 10 more rows to go. Well, not quite. I'm gonna leave more than twice so amount that a row is taking me right now for the bind off, because I'm probably gonna do the surprisingly stretchy bind off or Russian bind off or whatever the hell it is. Knit two together, knit two together, knit. That one. Because I guess Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off is yarn overs, and I do not do yarn overs. So, not much left. I don't even know what that works out to be in percentage left. It is, what is it? So, if 5% is 15 grams, I am 95% of the way done. Yay! So I've been working on this like a fiend. I ended up doing some pot, and I also broke into the second tube of beads, so this is tube of beads number 4. I have a couple ones that were too small to fit on my hook in there. So it is almost there. So pretty much I'm at the beginning of a round right now. I did put this on at Knitting Friday, which was sort of hilarious. It is big enough that I can sort of awkwardly put it on. So, but, so you can sort of get a sense for what's coming together here. So it'll be nice and glomped together when the time comes. So how is the progress? So this is Viajante by Martina Bem. It is a out of Woolmeisa lace in the Blautint colorway. And so if this is the month of progress, if I keep knitting on it like I have been, I'm gonna be done next week, so yay! So exciting. So this was, I think, the point where I really started to kick it in gear for trying to finish this bad boy. Oh, little hook went through there. So move my marker to the next slot. Oh, it's so dark in here, it's a little bit hard to see what stitch I'm gonna stick it on. There we go. It's also, since it is a legit pin, it could go through a stitch, and I don't really want to do that. So, marker moved. So, in terms of the week's progress, like, not so much. Or wait, I need to contrast. Not so much. It's sort of hard to see that, but what is it? So between my fingers is how much progress I've made this week. I've started to incorporate another branching thing of beads coming out there, so it's actually increasing a little bit faster now than the pattern calls for, as opposed to a little bit slower, but I sort of like that chevron look to it. So I think I have about 10-ish rows left, which probably means that I have 2 more rounds with beads, and then I'll be good. And I will have used up as much of the yarn as possible. So it's coming to be, like, what is it, about 1.3 grams per row, so that's why I guesstimated it as that. But it is huge, and I think it's going to be really awesome when it's done. So I've been knitting up a storm on that. It is my only project on the needles, though I've been pondering, oh, what is it? It's just like, I have an idea, and it's trying to figure out the appropriate implementation for that idea. So while I was knitting on it, I was like watching YouTube videos and trying to understand the ramifications of the choices. What is it? So I watched like Kat Bordy's video on the Mobius cast-on. I have been trying to figure out how to do brioche stitch in the round, and maybe it turns out that it just looks like brioche stitch and Fisherman's Rib are the same thing, maybe? I don't know, I'm just trying to understand it all, but now that I'm upstairs I can probably crack open Principles of Knitting or Barbara Walker's Treasury of Knitting patterns or something to get at what it really is, for lack of a better word. Maybe it does look like, whatever, a more complicated ribbing, but I think it would look really cool for the yarn I just finished, which was most of what I did this week, so that's why there wasn't really all that much knitting progress, because it's done. And this is actually post bath, and I somehow managed to cram it back onto here. Well, actually, when I put it on the knitting knotty, I put it on my PVC knitting knotty, so it was a little bit of a struggle, but not too much. But I figure it's so much easier to show if it's sort of in a fixed place, and I can just put it by the camera and be like, ooh, ah, amazing. So this is Nest Fiber. It was a Stashquisition because I got it sent as a prize from Jen of Nest. It is 566 yards across probably 8 ounces. I haven't weighed it. And it is set up as a gradient, so it goes from reds through browns and yellows to greens, with blips of other colors in there as well, because it wasn't like I was gonna do full lux or something like that. So it is quite pretty. Maybe like put it near the camera. So it is probably DK-ish. Parts of it are thinner than others, just because I think when I was initially spinning, I was doing it pretty fine. It was probably getting something fairly close to a 3-ply fingering. And then I think I was watching a movie while I was doing the greens, and so that ended up being a bit thicker. So I sort of want to turn this into a cowl. Or I want to give it away as a prize for the Something Special cowl. I'm so undecided. Or maybe I will design and knit a Mobius cowl and then give it away as a prize for the Something Special. Because I seldom ever wear cowls. I just really ardently want to knit one. I don't know why. But I think that, like, to use every little bit of it would be really awesome, and so I've been trying to figure out what the optimal cowl length is, and since I have about 8 ounces of yarn, that means I could make a really squishy, awesome cowl with this. So that has been my conundrum. And it would look so cool as, like, a Mobius in a gradient, like... So... I've held off so far on casting this thing on because I know last week I said I was going to start a sweater. But, I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I give prize of yarn or prize of cowl? Oh well, I'm just full of silliness today. So, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And... it's not my most consistent yarn. I think I still need to work, because what I wanted was like a Navajo ply fingering, and this is not there yet. It's closer, it's approximating that now, but not quite there. So what is it? So that would be about, yeah, it's definitely, what is it? So far I had 566. It's not even quite DK, I think, if I calculated that correctly. But I think it'll be really cool as a Mobius thing, and really cool as a cowl. So that's what I'm inclined to do. But if you're thinking, if you're participating in the Something Special cowl and you really just want to use it as yarn, like, cry out, because, I don't know, it's not going to be too much longer and I'll cast something on. You don't know what it'll be. I'm just feeling pretty silly today, aren't I? So, this was spun on the Lendrum in Fury, and I showed you guys the singles last week. So, it continues on. I did have a hard time. There were places, like, for example, like here, where I can't even really see what's going on, where there ended up being breaks as I was Navajo plying. So I tried to put them together as best I could, but I think I need to work on putting them together artfully. So that is the story there. I'll actually pull it off the Niddy-Noddy. It was very nice using the Niddy-Noddy because then I could continue drinking coffee. So I think it did. Here on this side you can see a little bit more of like the transition of colors, and it just turned out really cool. So I've shown it off to the Nesty people. They are the friend, like, I think it's quite possibly the nest group is the friendliest group on Ravelry. Like, no one can beat their level of friendliness. I don't think it's quite ridiculous. And it's already had its bath. I might check and make sure on my on my length, just so I know for my own sake. I gave it some good thwacking, and it turned out pretty balanced in the end. Like, sometimes, it's a little touch and go with non-hoe ply, figuring out if you're making a good yarn or not, but so cool. All sorts of crazy colors. And it'll be stripy sort of gradient since it's going from color to color to color, so I don't know, I just want to do something with it. But what I want to do with it, I wouldn't use, so this is the conundrum of knitting in Texas, I suppose. I get lots of use out of my shawls, but the winter weather here, aside from my hat, not so much. Excuse me, I just love that stupid hat, so it's sort of like I don't want to knit any hats for myself because my one hat is just so awesome. So, scaring. And it's very pretty. It makes me really look forward to spinning some of the other nest I have in my stash. Some of the ones where the color didn't necessarily take evenly, it was really cool to spin some of that, so then it had this sort of mottled tonal look to it that I thought was really cool. I do have another project going, which is a part of the Something Special Cal. That's my Something Special project. So I spun a bit more on this. This is the camel silk from Your Daily Fiber. Oh, and I brought the tag up with me today. So, oh, danger. There is all sorts of crud on it. So this is Your Daily Fiber. 50 camel, 50 silk. And you see that price? That price is too good. Too good to beat. It was amazing. And they have a website, so yourdailyfiber.com. I didn't know that. I bought it at the Taos Wool Festival as something luxurious and special for that. And this is how far I am. So still, my cop's pretty small right now. I spun a bit of this at knitting, since I did sort of go on a spinning bender this week with the other fiber. So I still have quite a lot to go, and I'm sort of curious, actually, how much. So we shall figure it out. Alright, unit 2 ounces, tear, this actually might not be. Alright, so I have 3.5 ounces to go, probably. And I have 3.9 ounces of this fiber, so let's use the bowl instead. The bowl will hold it a little bit better. Yeah, 3.6. So I still have a lot to go on this. So much to do, but it's going in the bag if only as a containment mechanism, not because it is not because I'm spinning it like I normally would out of the bag. I'm actually now tearing chunks out and then spinning a chunk until it's gone, and then moving on to the next chunk. And that is, just because it's so floofy and it catches on the bag, and my bag has like little metallic threads where the stars are, and it really likes to catch on that, so it's sort of like so it's easier to just tear off a chunk and deal with it that way. And because I am spinning it so fine, I don't know how fine. How am I spinning it? I left a dime somewhere here, so I'm figuring out how to show this appropriately. So, there we go. So it is coming out very, very fine right now. Actually, I'll just, I know that I have a little piece of floof in here at the moment. I was getting a little bit irritated with it when I was spinning it, so I was like, okay, that's done. Moving on now. So, and then when I'm putting it away, I put 2 half hitches in it to sort of get it to go. But for some reason it doesn't want to unhitch at the moment, which makes it a little bit challenging to demonstrate live on the podcast, or at least somewhat live. But come on. It is definitely it's very soft, but it's probably one of the more challenging fibers I've ever worked with before, so there we go. I just sort of broke that because it was not worth fiddling with anymore, since the half hitch got stuck on itself. And the double half hitch works fairly well when you are when they're separate, but once they start to go on together, geez Louise. So it would probably take maybe an hour to get through this little clump here, I'm assuming, but it's just the case where you're drafting, and if you are just moving a little bit at a time, it's not too bad to draft this guy. But actually, I cut a lot of jalapenos yesterday, and my thumb is a little bit sore, so it's hurting a bit to spin. It was like what was it? I had gotten the capsicum all over myself, and then there's a situation where I just feel a little bit like burning. So I'm just doing the over-under thing. I'm definitely not as fast with the over-under thing on a Turkish spindle as I am with just wrapping on a normal drop spindle. But the 1-ounce spindle is definitely the right tool for this, because you can make some pretty nice yarn with it. And this is whatever, I think a standard size of Turkish spindle. So it's just the challenge of making sure you don't get what is it? The challenge of the fiber management, basically, because it does want to just sort of stick to everything. And if you're not spinning it tightly enough, like, it's almost like it sort of wants to drift apart on its own. It was definitely a case where it was a pretty challenging draft for the wheel. I was just not ready for doing the drafting for that. Whereas with the spindle, I feel like I have a little bit more control, a little bit more sense of you know, what's going on and how the state of things is. Because, like, as I explained, I'm intending to make a weight with my wheel and not quite able to do it yet. And part of that is practice. Certainly, or part of it is definitely practice. But in the meantime, I don't know. Like, I definitely wasn't going to spin lace weight fine on my wheel, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do a 3-ply fingering weight. So, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure how long it would take to spin through this little chunk, but I figure whatever, it's interesting to watch and see someone who is drafting away. And when I had first started spinning, it just seemed like absolute magic, that emotion, like, whatever. Basically the pull, slip sort of thing that you do with drafting just was like such a foreign concept to me at the time. So, and I always hate it when I don't end up leaving enough leader to actually do the half hitch on it. So, what is it? So I don't know. So normally I spin while watching podcasts, but I've been slightly obsessed with trying to finish the Ahante, because, you know, when you get to that part of the project where it's almost done, and that's very motivating to me. Maybe some people feel the opposite way, like it's almost done, and be like, man, I want to start something new, I'm done with it. But I don't know. Like, I'm definitely have a little bit of that crazy right now, but not, you know, like, too much of that crazy. I know better than to start something new so close to the end. Oh, what is it? So, like, I'm somewhat behind on podcasts, so I've just been sort of chilling today and watching podcasts. I'm definitely pretty far behind on Mustache, and I think I'm probably at this point behind on all of the other ones as well. So, that'll be nice to take some time since it is a rainy, gross day. It isn't like you feel bad for not being outside because it's sunny and 70. That was yesterday. Today it is rainy and 40. Tomorrow will be rainy and 30. So I don't feel too bad on gross days like this, staying inside and hanging out. But we shall see. Or maybe there'll be a variety of things I can do. I also have, now since the scale is back, or I have a scale again, I can start carding more Rologs for the chocolate Shetland fleece. So that's probably actually going to be my next spinning project. After this will be to do the chocolate Shetland fleece. I'm debating whether or not I want to try doing it on the wheel, because I know that I am a very, very slow spindle spinner. And then on the other hand, it'd be really awesome to have a purely spindle spun sweater, because that would just be a whole different level of badass. But it's slow and it takes a long time, and I'm not sure I could put out a 2-ounce skein every 2 weeks in order to actually make that successful. So it's like, and still, whatever, have plenty of time to knit a sweater. So the Pound-a-thon challenge starts March 1st, and what you do is you declare a pound of fiber and the project you want to make with it. And at this point, what is it? I have 18 ounces. No, I don't have 18 ounces spun. What do I have spun right now? I have 5, so I have 10 ounces spun of it so far, and I've been working on it since October of 2013. So it's been going really slowly, so that's why I'm wondering if the wheel would be the correct path for the rest of that. So I need to basically make up 8 bags of fiber, and I figure if I get it all prepped up before then, it'll be really easy to do a sort of grab and go style dealio. And actually what I have down on the floor is a giant pile of hay from doing the other 4 ounces 2 weeks ago. So that's an interesting conundrum. I certainly have plenty of plastic grocery bags, so that isn't necessarily a limiting factor. It's just sometimes it can be a little bit annoying carting it all in one go, but I know. I have 6 ounces done now, so that would have to be, what is it? So I'd have to do 5 more bags to get a pound. That didn't quite add up. What is it? So I've said that I would spin 7 of them, so I probably do have at least 14 ounces. I guess I'm assuming I have 14 ounces. I'll have to weigh it and see how it looks. So, whatever. So I need to, take pictures for that and make sure everything's prepped up and whatever else. So, yeah. So 5 more bags makes sense. Because it would be 8 total for 2 ounce things. And, I don't know. So if I do it on the wheel, it won't be, the spindle spun sweater I had initially set out to make, but I might, the goal is the sweater, not necessarily, or whatever, the goal is hand spun sweater, and it's both, they're both types of hand spinning, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, I think that is enough of my camel silk for the moment. I'll do the double half hitch, and hopefully this time it won't glomp on itself. So, that's where the double half hitch is supposed to look. Instead of what I've been doing recently. More coffee. But it's still nice and hot. So hopefully you guys enjoy our little demonstration of the Turkish spinning and be like, we can work on this something special, Cal, together. I'm sort of curious how the progress is coming along. Because, what is it? The next time I record will be March 1st. No, craziness. Because I was doing math in my head before the podcast, and I don't think this year is leap year. Which means February 29th is really March 1st. And that'll be my birthday month. All month long. Though I probably won't do anything special for it until the DFW Fiber Fest. So excited. I'm very excited about that coming to town. Since I'm not necessarily really paying attention to other fiber festivals in Texas. So, we shall see how it goes. We'll figure out whether I get my stupid light in here to work, because that would make it a lot easier to card all of the things, and probably starting, we'll see if I end up starting doing the spindle spinning or the wheel spinning for the chocolate Shetland fleece, to try to get it finished off before, and to basically have a sweater. Since I already know what pattern I want to use, and I already have a rough idea of yardage, so it seems like it's heading in a positive direction. And whatever, continue to get more practice spinning the weight of yarn I want to have. So, that is a story then. So, I hope you guys all have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you again. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.